All right, everybody. Welcome to a very special stream in which this stream is for SoundCheck and Jeremy Barton. And in this one, I'm going to imagine a fan-made SpongeBob SquarePants DVD releases by Anchor Bay Entertainment, which is the exact same company that releases Thomas the Tank Engine DVD releases and some VHS releases of baby songs from 1999 to 2001. In which the Anchor Bay releases of SpongeBob would be from 1999 to 2008. So, the reason why I chose Anchor Bay Entertainment for SpongeBob is because, instead of Columbia TriStar, is because SpongeBob takes place underwater and the Anchor Bay logo has a boat. And it mentions, and boats live in water, and boats travel in water, and it takes place under the water. So that's why I chose Anchor Bay for the SpongeBob releases. Jeremy Barton, if you're watching this, it's for you. Now, before we go over it, here's some rules. If you have something to point out, please relate it to the video. Please don't use inappropriate, strong language. So, minor ones are perfectly okay, but stay away from the stronger ones, like the F-bomb altogether. Most of all, have fun. So, Jeremy Barton, are you ready? And I'm currently drinking water as I'm speaking because I got back from a physical therapy appointment. Okay, Jeremy Barton. Ready? Here is the first release of SpongeBob SquarePants by Anchor Bay on DVD. The first one I came up with is called Welcome to Bikini Bottom, with the release date being August 17th of 1999. Which is the exact same day Anchor Bay Entertainment released these two baby songs VHS releases, which are ABC 123 Colors and Shapes and Baby's Busy Day on VHS. Welcome to Bikini Bottom would be released on DVD on the same day as these two VHS releases of baby songs, also by Anchor Bay. And here are the episodes, and each Anchor Bay DVD release of SpongeBob would contain 6 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants and contain 4 bonus Thomas the Tank Engine stories. Kind of like in the Hey Arnold DVDs by Columbia TriStar, beginning in 2000, they would have some Hey Arnold episodes and then have bonus Dragon Tales episodes. But as for the Anchor Bay releases of SpongeBob, it would have 4 bonus Thomas stories after the 6 SpongeBob episodes. Is that right, Jeremy Barton? Alright, here's the first release I came up with. So, Welcome to Bikini Bottom, like I said before, released August 17th, 1999. And it would have 6 episodes, in which the episodes for Welcome to Bikini Bottom would be Tea at the Tree Dome, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Bloating... Alright. They are Tea at the Tree Dome, Boating School, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. No. Alright, hold on one second. I'm going to say the episodes again. So, for Welcome to Bikini Bottom, it would have Tea at the Tree Dome, Boating School, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Home Sweet Pineapple, Plankton, and Help Wanted. As so. And ironically enough, Home Sweet Pineapple would air on television 3 days before the VHS and DVD would be released. Before the DVD would be released. Alright. And at the beginning of the DVD of Welcome to Bikini Bottom, get ready to listen carefully to the opening. So it would have the FBI warning, then it would have the Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, which is silent, then the DVD menu, the 1998 Chuck E. Cheese's chalkboard advertisement, which, like Season 3 of Hey Arnold, Season 1 of SpongeBob, would also use the Kitty tune. Without the mascot. And then the Season 1 funding continued, which the Season 1 funding of SpongeBob would be like the Season 1 funding for Dragon Tales, but it would have an instrumental of the SpongeBob SquarePants theme, and it would have Tom Kenny, who voices SpongeBob, in his SpongeBob voice, say, SpongeBob SquarePants is funded in part by a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting through funds from the U.S. Department of Education. I originally used 2 different versions of the Season 1 funding, but I decided to have one with just Corporation for Public Broadcasting and U.S. Department of Education. Then the SpongeBob SquarePants theme, and the start of the episode Tea at the Tree Dome. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode Help Wanted. And then, of course, the online bumper from mid to late 1999, which would have SpongeBob saying, to learn more about SpongeBob SquarePants, visit us at www.pbs.org. And then, of course, it would obviously go to the credits, but I will not be showing the credits when I make those fan-made Anchor Bay SpongeBob releases. Then, of course, the funding with the Chuck E. Cheese's chalkboard ad again, then the Season 1 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants. But here's the thing. Even though it uses the same grants as the Season 1 funding of Dragon Tales, which premiered in September of 1999, which, unlike Dragon Tales and Season 4 of Hey Arnold, which just used the 1999 PBS Kids idents, SpongeBob would actually be an exception, as despite using the grants from Season 1 of Dragon Tales, it would use the P-Pals ident with the EI balloon because it would be released in August of 1999 on DVD. And then after the P-Pals ident, it would have the Britt Oldcroft intro, the Thomas the Tank Engine Classic Series theme from Season 5, and then it would have the 4 Thomas stories, which are Thomas and the Special Letter, Henry and the Elephant, Gordon and the Gremlin, and Tender Engines. Now, what were your thoughts on Anchor Bay releasing SpongeBob because of the boat in the logo in water, and the show takes place underwater? It also made sense for Thomas because boats travel like trains as well. All right, next. That would be cool. But now we're gonna go back to the topic. Anyway, next up, I came up with one more SpongeBob release from 1999, and that is called Surprises in Bikini Bottom. Now, the front cover for Welcome to Bikini Bottom would have SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, and Plankton and Mr. Krabs. Well, obviously, if that logo is real, Culture Shock and Fun would use it, and Valentine's Day in the Paper would also use it, along with Scaredy Pants and I Was a Teenage Gary, SB129 and Karate Choppers would also use it. Arg and Rock Bottom would use it. Which Arg and Rock Bottom would be the last one to use the sidewalk one. And for Culture Shock and Fun, because the sidewalk logo didn't exist, the dash one would be used. Same goes for Valentine's Day and the Paper. Now for Scaredy Pants and I Was a Teenage Gary, the dot one would actually be used if the sidewalk logo didn't exist, so obviously the first 7 episodes of SpongeBob would use the Pea Pals ident, from Help Wanted all the way up to Jellyfish Jam. After those episodes, that's when they used the 1999 idents. Anyway, next up I came up with a 1999 release from November 9th of 1999, which is the last 1999 release of SpongeBob, which would be called Surprises in Bikini Bottom, released on November 9th of 1999, and that would have the episodes Pizza Delivery, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, Scaredy Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary, and Opposite Day. And at the beginning of Surprises in Bikini Bottom, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, which is silent, DVD menu, 1998 Chuck E. Cheese's chalkboard ad, Season 1 funding of SpongeBob, the title sequence and the start of the episode Pizza Delivery. And at the end, it would have the last few seconds of the episode Opposite Day, then the online bumper from late 1999 to early 2001, which is for the later half of Season 1, which would have SpongeBob say, to learn more about SpongeBob SquarePants, visit us at pbskids.org. Credits, obviously, and then the funding with the 1998 Chuck E. Cheese's chalkboard ad, the funding for season 1 of SpongeBob. Then the PBS Kids ident with Dash the Boy thinking about something. This would be the first one to use the 1999 PBS Kids logo. And then the Britt Allcroft logo, the Thomas the Tank Engine Classic Series theme from season 5. And it would have the episodes, the Thomas episodes would be Thomas Percy and the Dragon, Haunted Henry, Thomas Saves the Day, and Thomas Comes to Breakfast, which Thomas Saves the Day and Thomas Comes to Breakfast would be the Ringo Starr versions, and not the George Carlin one. That icon looks pretty cool. Yeah, I like the idea for the cover of Surprise in the Bikini Bottom. Dark colored jellyfish. It should also have a picture of SpongeBob and Patrick looking frightened because of Squidward in ghost form from Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. What do you think? Alright. Now it came up with the first SpongeBob release from 2000, which would be called Fun with SpongeBob and Patrick, with the release date being February 22nd of 2000, which is the exact same day Anchor Bay released Baby Songs Animals on VHS. That DVD would be released on the same day as that VHS of Baby Songs Animals. And this would have the season 1 episodes. This would have the season 1 episodes Jellyfishing. Let's see. Jellyfishing. Pickles. Sandy's Rocket. Squeaky Boots. Sleepy. Alright, let me start over. Alright, here we go. Fun with SpongeBob and Patrick would have, the first would be Culture Shock and Fun. The only one with the Sidewalk logo in the Peep House era would obviously be Jellyfishing and Plankton, but other than that, there were no other episodes in the Peep House era that used it. So, I thought of the episodes for Fun with SpongeBob and Patrick, though. Jellyfishing, Sandy's Rocket, Squeaky Boots, Fun, which has SpongeBob and Plankton in it, Sleepy Time, and Suds. And at the beginning of the DVD of Fun with SpongeBob and Patrick, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, DVD menu, the 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad with an announcer saying, Chuck E. Cheese's. Then a kid says, it's cool to learn. Share the fun and grow. Cool to play it smart. Let's share the fun. Everyone. We're glad to play our part. Chuck E. Cheese's supports PBS Kids Television, where a kid can be a kid. That is also heard on season 6 of Barney and Friends, and along with Wishbone, and Season 1 of Clifford the Big Red Dog. And then the Season 1 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants, the title sequence and the start of the episode Jellyfishing, and the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode Suds, and then the online bumper from late 1999 to 2000 to early 2001. And then, of course, the Season 1. And then, of course, the end credits, the 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad. And then, of course, the Season 1 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants. Oh, and I would also add in the Children's Television Workshop semicircle logo for those releases at the end before the funding as well. Jeremy Barton, what do you think? Because my version of SpongeBob would be produced by Children's Television Workshop. So anyway, the last few seconds of the episode Suds, the end credits, website bumper, the end credits, Children's Television Workshop semicircle logo with Play It Smart at the bottom, Chuck E. Cheese's chalkboard ad, and then, of course, the Season 1 funding, and then the PBS Kids ident with Dot the girl this time running up to the screen. Then the Britt Allcroft intro, the Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and it'll have the Thomas and Friends episodes, Sir Topham Hatt's Holiday, Thomas Percy and the Mail Train, The Trouble with Mud, and Gordon and the Famous Visitor. Actually, you know what? Why not have the same version that is used on Dragon Tales, but in addition to the bouncing sound effects, you would also hear sound effects of water splashing. Okay. Oh, hi. How are you doing? That reminds me, I have a checkup in 3 days. So, so I may have to wait until next Saturday to get back to them, because I have to get prepared for a checkup, which would be on Monday. So, yes, there will be some of them. Yes. So, Anyway. So that was fun with SpongeBob and Patrick. Now I came up with a release from July 25th of 2000, which would be 3 days before I was born, surprisingly. And the same day Thomas Comes to Breakfast was re-released on VHS. And that'll be called Exercise with SpongeBob. And this would have the episodes Ripped Pants, Hall Monitor, Nature Pants, Culture Shock, Muscle Bob, Buff Pants, and Karate Choppers. And at the beginning of the DVD of Exercise with SpongeBob, which basically is ironic because there's only a few episodes where SpongeBob actually exercises. And at the beginning of the DVD of Exercise with SpongeBob, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo. Then it would have a teaser for Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Then the DVD menu. And the 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow advertisement. Season 1 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants. And then, of course, the Season 1, and then the theme and the start of the episode Ripped Pants. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode Karate Choppers, Season 1 online, bumper from late 1999, early 2001. And then, of course, the online bumper from late 1999 to early 2001. The end credits, Children's Television Workshop semicircle logo with the word Play It Smart at the bottom. And then, of course, the Season 1 funding of SpongeBob with the 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad. Season 1 funding of SpongeBob continued. And then the PBS Kids ident, again with Dot the girl running up to the screen, as the title is called Exercise with SpongeBob. Brittlcroft logo, Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and this DVD Exercise with SpongeBob would have the episodes Thomas Goes Fishing, Thomas Breaks the Rules, Donald and Douglas, and Something in the Air. Actually, what you mentioned about Sir Topham Hatt being cross, surprises in Bikini Bottom with Thomas Comes to Breakfast. Thomas Comes to Breakfast has Sir Topham Hatt being crossed at the very end of the episode. He's like, meanwhile, a diesel rail car will do your work. You must go to the docks and have your front mended. Works and have your front mended. It'll be quite a long job. All right. Next up, I came up with a release from September 19th, 2000. Which would be called SpongeBob's Funny Days. And it would have the episodes Jellyfish Jam, The Chaperone, Employee of the Month, SB129, The Paper, and Fools in April. I don't think there are any episodes that have any farm. Oh, Sir Topham Hatt was crossed with Thomas, of course, in the episode Thomas Comes to Breakfast. Anyway, at the beginning of the DVD of SpongeBob's Funny Days, it would have the, not to be confused with the Teletubbies video, Funny Day, which would be released a year apart. It would have the FBI warning, the Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, DVD menu, and then, of course, the 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad. Farmer Bob. Oh, yeah. But that's from season 12, and Anchor Bay would stop releasing them in like 2008 with season 5. Anyway, FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, DVD menu, 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad, the season 1 funding. Then it would have the title sequence and the start of the episode Jellyfish Jam. And the start of the episode Jellyfish Jam. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode Fools in April, online bumper from late 1999 to early 2001. The end credits, the Children's Television Workshop semicircle logo with the word plate smart at the bottom. Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad. Season 1 funding of SpongeBob. And then, of course, the Columbia, and then, of course, the PBS Kids ident with Dash the Boy thinking about something. The Britt Allcroft logo, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends theme. And this would have the episodes. For the Thomas episodes, it would be called Trust Thomas, Thomas Gets Bumped, Better Late Than Never, and A Better View for Gordon. And Better Late Than Never would be the Ringo Starr version. Now I came up with The first SpongeBob release from 2001, which is the last one to have season 1 episodes, and that would be called SpongeBob on the Job, released on March 6th or March 13th of 2001. It would have the episodes Valentine's Day, Arg, Rock Bottom, Texas, and Hooky. The previous one I mentioned, SpongeBob's Funny Days, I chose It's Dash from 1999. Now, I came up with the first release from 2001 called SpongeBob on the Job, which would be the last one to use season 1 episodes, and it would be called Valentine's Day. It would be called SpongeBob on the Job with Valentine's Day, Arg, Rock Bottom, Texas, Neptune Spatula, and Hooky. So that's 6 episodes. So at the beginning of SpongeBob on the Job, it would have the FBI warning, red warning, the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, DVD menu, 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow advertisement. And then the season 1 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants. The title sequence and the start of the episode Valentine's Day. And the closing would have the last few seconds of Hooky, Online Thumper from late 1999 to early 2001. This would be the last release to use that. Then the end credits, Children's Television Workshop semicircle logo with the word Play It Smart. This would be the last SpongeBob DVD release to use that logo. Then the 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad, season 1 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants, and then the 2000 PBS Kids Dash transformation ident, with Dash transforming into a caveman, scuba diver, and robot, which would also be used on Arthur DVD releases beginning in 2003 with Arthur's Tasty Treats. Then the Britt Allcroft logo, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends theme, and it would have the 4 episodes, A Cow in the Line, which would be the Ringo Starr version, James in a Mess, which is the Ringo Starr version, Thomas and the Guard, which is the Thomas and the Conductor, which is the Ringo Starr version, and Thomas and Bertie's Great Race, which is the Ringo Starr version. This would actually have all 4 Thomas stories narrated by Ringo Starr on here. Now, what do you find interesting about SpongeBob on the Job, Jeremy Barton? And by the way, September 19th, 2000 was also the same day Baby Songs Play Along Songs was released on VHS by Anchor Bay as well. Now, what else? You know what else? It is the only DVD to use a transformation ident and have the CTW logo on there. Because most of Season 1 premiered from 1999 in the Children's Television Workshop era, except for one, which was Hooky and Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2. And that's why Hooky and Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2 would use the dash transformation ident, because that episode aired in 2001, but despite that, it would still use the CTW logo. Now, what else is interesting besides dash transformation? Alright, here we go. Next up, we go into another release from 2001, which would be the first one he used, and that is called the next one I came up with would be released on May 15th, 2001. That would be called SpongeBob's Comedy of Fun, which would be released May 15th, 2001, like I said before. And it would have Pre-Hibernation Week and Life of Crime. And at the beginning of that DVD, it'll use the Anchor Bay FBI Warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, DVD menu, the first half of the Season 2 funding, which has Ready to Learn and U.S. Department of Education, except Corporation for Public Broadcasting is in a circle rather than a square. Because, yeah. And then, the Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad from 1999. The Season 2 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants, and then, of course, Continued, which is a slower version of the Reading Rainbow funding, which also has SpongeBob's voiceover. In the first half, he says, SpongeBob is funded in part by a Ready to Learn grant from the U.S. Department of Education for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And in the second half, he says, SpongeBob is also funded by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. The title sequence and the start of the episode, Your Shoes Untied. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode, Life of Crime, the online bumper from late 2000 to 2003, which has Patrick Starr's voiceover saying, "To learn more about SpongeBob SquarePants, visit us at pbskids.org." He says it in a pretty similar tone as Ord does in the Season 1 funding of Dragon Tales. Oh, May 15th, 2001 is the release date for SpongeBob's Comedy of Fun. And then, of course, the end credits, and then the Sesame Workshop green roof, blue house logo fully animated. This would be the season 2 of SpongeBob would be the earliest occurrence to use the fully animated version. And then, of course, which the blue house, green roof, fully animated logo would also be used on reruns of season 1 of Dragon Tales as well. Then the season 2 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow advertisement. Season 2 funding continued. And then the PBS Kids Dot transformation ident, with Dot transforming into a tiger, octopus, and astronaut. Now, PBS Kids Dot transformation. Alright, the closing would have the last few seconds of Life of Crime, and then the end credit, the online bumper from 2000, late 2000 to 2003, which has Patrick Starr's voiceover saying, "To learn more about SpongeBob SquarePants, visit us at pbskids.org." And Patrick Starr says it in a very similar way that Ord says it in a season 1 online bumper for Dragon Tales. Believe it or not. And credits, and in the fully animated green roof, blue house Sesame Workshop logo, which would be the earliest occurrence of the fully animated version on TV, which the fully animated green roof, blue house version is also used on reruns of season 1 of Dragon Tales. And then the season 2 funding, 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad. The season 2 funding continued. And then the PBS Kids Dot transformation ident, with Dot transforming into a tiger, octopus, and astronaut. Then the Britt Allcroft logo and the Thomas the Tank Engine theme. And SpongeBob's Comedy of Fun would have the episodes A New Friend for Thomas, which is the Ringo Starr version. Come Out Henry, which is the Ringo Starr version. The Flying Kipper, which is the Ringo Starr version. And By George, which is from season 5. Now I came up with Anchor Bay release from October 2nd, 2001, called Krusty Krab Madness. And it would be released October 2nd, 2001. And this would have the 6 SpongeBob SquarePants episodes, Sailor Mouth, Jellyfish Hunter, the Fry Cook Games, Hype, and Wormy. Patty Hype and Imitation Crabs, I should say. And at the beginning of that DVD, it'll have the FBI warning, then the Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, and then the Thomas the Tank Engine video collection promo from 2001 with the announcer saying, "All aboard for excitement with everyone's #1 train, Thomas the Tank Engine." That is also shown on the Thomas DVD releases as well. Then the DVD menu, the season 2 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants, Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad from 1999, season 2 funding continued, title sequence, and the start of the episode and the start weeks. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode, Imitation Crabs, the online bumper from late 2000 to 2003 with Patrick Starr's voiceover. Then the end credits. And then, of course, the Sesame Workshop Green Roof Blue House logo fully animated. The season 2 funding, 1999 Chuck E. Cheese's Share the Fun and Grow ad. Then the season 2 funding continued. Then the PBS Kids Dot transformation ident with Dot transforming into a tiger, octopus, and astronaut. Then it would have the season 2 funding. And then, of course, the Britt Allcroft logo, Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and this would have the episodes. This would have episodes from season 4 of Thomas the Tank Engine on here. Thomas and Stepney and Thomas Meets the Queen. With George Carlin being the narrator, of course. And you're right, By George does have Alec Baldwin. All right. Next up, I came up with an Anchor Bay release, the first one from 2002, and that is called Use Your Imagination with, or Imagination with, or Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick. And that would be released on April 2nd, 2002, which is the same day Columbia TriStar released the DVD releases of Dragon Tales, Yes We Can, and It's Cool to Be Me on DVD. Be the first and it would have the episodes Just One Bite, As Seen on TV, Can You Spare a Dime, Welcome to the Chum Bucket, and Frankendoodle.
James, here is your reminder. Take a nap. James, here is your reminder. Take a nap.
Actually, Welcome to the Chum Bucket and Frankendoodle would be first on that DVD, then Just One Bite, The Bully, As Seen on TV, and Can You Spare a Dime would come afterwards. I would put the 2000 DVD logo with the word Home Entertainment at the bottom on there, if Columbia TriStar released it instead of Anchor Bay. And at the beginning of the DVD of Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick, oh, by the way, wait a minute. I shouldn't, well, I'll add in Welcome to the Chum Bucket and Frankendoodle another time. I'll put in Nasty Patty, and the DVD would be called, and the episode on the back cover would actually be called Imagine Box instead of what Squidward calls SpongeBob and Patrick sometimes. And I'll put in As Seen on TV and Can You Spare a Dime and Just One Bite and the Bully on another release. So, Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick would include Nasty Patty, and then it'll be called Imagine Box on the back cover. Nasty Patty, and then Imagine Box, which is actually called Idiot Box, but it's called Imagine Box on the back cover. And then all effect, One Crab's Trash, Crabborg, and Rockabye Bivalve. Those episodes would be on Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick. At the beginning, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine DVD's trailer from 2001, DVD menu, Season 3 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants, which has Squidward Tentacles doing the voiceover this time. And he says, SpongeBob is funded in part by a Ready-to-Learn television cooperative agreement from the U.S. Department of Education through the Public Broadcasting Service. And then in the second half, it would have the 2002 Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids advertisement. And then that does have the mascot. Then the Season 2, Season 3 funding continued, which has the announcer say, SpongeBob is also funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and from viewers like you. Thank you. Which is like an alternate version of the Clifford funding plug from Season 2, but with Squidward's voiceover instead of Cleo's. Then the title sequence and the start of the episode Nasty Patty. And at the end, it'll have the last few seconds of the episode Rockabye Bivalve. and that would be the first to use season 3 episodes, by the way. Then the online bumper from 2002 to 2004, which has Mr. Krabs doing the voiceover saying, "To learn more about SpongeBob, visit PBS Kids at pbskids.org." And then the end credits. And then, of course, the season 3 funding, the Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad with the mascot from 2002. The end credits. No. Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad from 2002. Season 3 funding continued. Then it would have the 2002 PBS Kids Snow Globe ident, where Dash ice skates in a snow globe in an ice rink. The camera zooms out and it has Dot holding the snow globe. And then the PBS, and then the Britt Allcroft logo. And it's the version that, which I originally was going to have it cut in and out, but I decided to have it fade in and out for SpongeBob with the URL, just like on season 7 and 8 of Arthur. So after the PBS Kids Snow Globe ident, which would be the earliest appearance of that ident, as it's from April 2002, it would have the Britt Allcroft logo, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends Classic Series theme, and it would have the episodes Thomas's Christmas Party, Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree, Snow, and Percy's Promise. Which Thomas's Christmas Party is the Ringo Starr version. Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree is also the Ringo Starr version. While Snow is narrated by Alec Baldwin and Percy's Promise is by George Carlin, respectively. Now, what do you find very interesting about the DVD of Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick? And the version of the episode Idiot Box is the version used on PBS broadcasts of the episode where Squidward and as for the Sesame Workshop logo for season 3, this time it is the green house and purple roof, unlike season 2, which had blue house and green roof. And the version of the episode Idiot Box that would be shown on the DVD of Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick is, of course, the edited version used on PBS broadcasts, which has Squidward trying to turning on the TV, and then it would have Squidward changing different channels, and it cuts to the boxing match scene, and then after the boxing match scene, Squidward would go, "Isn't there anything on that isn't about boxes?" And then it changes to the Elmo's World being shown, with the season 1 intro being shown for Elmo's World. The season 1 Elmo's World intro where Elmo walks past his goldfish Dorothy in his closet door, and then he goes over to the shade and then draws a curtain on the shade and then closes it down. And then it shows a bit of the food intro as well, where but then after Cookie Monster gobbles up the cereal box, Squidward would go, "I give up." That's the version of Idiot Box that is shown on the DVD of Imagine with Arnold. No, Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick, excuse me. Do you know what CTW and Sesame Workshop logos would be on the SpongeBob releases that I've talked about so far? Alright, next release I'll talk about will be the first one to use the Fishbowl ID, and that is called Krusty Krab Fun. Released on, which would be released on July 23rd of 2002, which would be the same day Anchor Bay released the Thomas DVD releases of Best of Percy, Cranky Bugs, and Races, Rescues, and Runaways. And this would have the episodes Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Frankendoodle, Just One Bite, The Bully, As Seen on TV, and Can You Spare a Dime? Or actually, Just One Bite and then Schoolium Returns would appear on it. Actually, it'll have Just One Bite, and then the Bully would be replaced with Wet Painters. Alright, here we go. So, yeah. And of course, the episodes for Krusty Krab Fun would be Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Frankendoodle, Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Frankendoodle, Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Frankendoodle. Yeah, 9 days before your 6th birthday, July 23rd, 2002. This would have the episodes Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Frankendoodle, Just One Bite, Wet Painters, As Seen on TV, and Can You Spare a Dime? And at the beginning of the DVD of Krusty Krab Fun, it'll have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine videos trailer from 2001. Then, of course, the DVD menu, Season 3 funding of SpongeBob SquarePants, Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids advertisement with Cool Chuck. Then the Season 3 funding continued, and then the title sequence and the start of the episode. Welcome to the Chum Bucket. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode, Can You Spare a Dime? Then the online bumper from 2002 to 2004. Then the end credits. Then the Season 3. Then the Sesame Workshop greenhouse purple roof logo. Season 3 funding. And then, of course, the 2002 Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, Season 3 funding continued. And then the 2002 PBS Kids Fishbowl ident, which has Dash looking at a goldfish in a fishbowl. He comes close to the fishbowl, imagines himself as an orange goldfish, then gets eaten by Dot. And like the snow globe ident, the fishbowl ident would also fade in and out, in which the fishbowl one also fades in and out on R for Season 7 and 8, and R for It's Only Rock and Roll as well, and the DVD of Arthur's Tooth. Then the Britt Allcroft logo, the Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and it would have the episodes Thomas Goes Fishing, James Learns a Lesson, which is the Ringo Starr version, just like Thomas Goes Fishing, of course. Thomas Goes Fishing, James Learns a Lesson, No Joke for James, and Percy James and the Fruitful Day. Now, the fishbowl ident would be the most common PBS Kids ident shown on Season 3 of SpongeBob SquarePants. The snow globe one only appears once on Snowball Effect and One Crab's Trash. The dash transformation ident only appears twice on Crabborg and Rockabye Bivalve and the SpongeBob BC episode. The 1999 dash ident would only be shown once on Missing Identity in Plankton's Army. The 1999 dot ident would only be shown once for The Sponge Who Could Fly. The 2000 dot transformation ident and the 2000 dot transformation ident would only be shown 3 times on Just One Bite, The Bully, No Weenies Allowed, Squilliam Returns, Krabby Land, and the Camping episode. All the other episodes that I didn't mention would use the fishbowl ident. Well, all the other episodes with the specific idents that I did not mention, like all the other episodes besides the ones I already talked about with Snow Globe, Dash Transformation, Dot Transformation, Dash, and Dot from 1999, the rest of those episodes would use the fishbowl ident, besides the ones I already mentioned, except for the ones that I already mentioned with how many times the others would be shown. And all right. Next up, we go into another release from 2002 with the fishbowl ident. SpongeBob's Heroic Adventures. And this would have 6 episodes, with 5 of them being Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes. It would have the first 5 Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes of SpongeBob, and then it would have the Season 3 episode SpongeBob Meets... No. And then it would have the Season 3 Clams. Besides the Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes there. So they would be Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes 1 through 5, and then Clams. So as for Season 3, the Snow Globe ident only appears on Snowball Effect and One Crab's Trash. The Dash Transformation ident appears on Crabborg and Rockabye Bivalve and SpongeBob BC before comedy. The Dot Transformation ident would appear on Just One Bite, The Bully, No Weenies Allowed, and Squilliam Returns, and Krabby Land and the Camping episode, with No Weenies Allowed and Squilliam Returns accidentally using the fishbowl audio for some reason. The Dot ident would only be shown on The Sponge Who Could Fly, and the Dash ident would only be shown on Missing Identity in Plankton's Army. The other episodes would use the fishbowl ident. What do you think, Jeremy Barton? Next release they came up with is called SpongeBob and Patrick's Amazing Adventures, which would be released on February 4th, 2003. Yeah. Alright, so after the Mermaid Man, alright, I'm going to tell you the opening and closing of SpongeBob to Heroic Adventures. It would have the FBI warning, red warning and attention screens. It would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas and Friends DVD's trailer from 2002 with the announcer saying, "All aboard for excitement with everyone's #1 train, Thomas the Tank Engine." And then the DVD menu, Season 3 funding, 2002 Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, Season 3 funding continued, title sequence, oh boy. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode, Clams. And then, of course, the online bumper from Season 3, which is from 2002 to 2004, and credits. And then we have the Season 3 funding, 2002 Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, Season 3 funding continued, then the PBS Kids Fishbowl ident, yet again, just like on Krusty Krab Fun, Heroic Adventures would also use the Fishbowl ident. Then the Britt Allcroft logo. No, and then after the Fishbowl ident, we go into the Season 6 Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends intro, which has Thomas chugging in the snow at the beginning. And it would have and it would be a sampler of episodes from the Salty Secret DVD release. It would have Salty Secret, No Sleep for Cranky, Harvey to the Rescue, and Elizabeth the Vintage Quarry Truck on there. Now, what do you find interesting about Heroic Adventures, Jeremy Barton? All right. Next up, we go into the first 2003 release. And that, of course, would be called More Adventures with SpongeBob and Patrick. And the release date would be January 28th, 2003. And this would have a mix of Season 2 and Season 3 episodes on here. Grandma's Kisses, Revival of the It's, Club SpongeBob and My Pretty Seahorse. And at the beginning of that DVD, it'll basically have the same opening as Heroic Adventures, the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends trailer from 2002, DVD menu, Season 3 funding, the Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, the Season 3 funding continue, title sequence, and the start of is. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode My Pretty Seahorse, online bumper from 2002 to 2004, the end credits, season, and then the Sesame Workshop Purple Roof Green House logo, just like on Heroic Adventures and stuff, and Krusty Krab Fun, Season 3 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, and then, of course, the Season 3 funding continue, PBS Kids Fishbowl ident, and then the Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends theme from Season Brittlecraft intro and Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends intro from Season 4, and then a sampler of episodes from the Thomas and his Friends Help Out. Alright. And anyway. And then after the Season 4 intro, it would have the sampler of episodes from the Thomas and his Friends Help Out DVD. Oh, and if I said January 28th, 2003, I meant to say February 18th, 2003, I should say. And the reason why I chose Thomas episodes on the SpongeBob releases is because there is a manager in both of those shows. Mr. Krabs is the manager of Krusty Krab, and he wants all of the employees to get to work. Just like when Sir Topham Hatt wants all the engines to get to work when he runs a railway. What do you think of that, Jeremy Barton? Would that work? And the next release from 2003 I came up with would be called Squidward's Miserable Adventures, which would be released on June 10th of 2003. And it would have some episodes being reused from previous releases, like Opposite Day and The Paper, and I Was a Teenage Gary, and Dying for Pie. But in addition to that, it would also include the episode Squilliam Returns and the episode Squid on Strike. Now, at the beginning of the DVD of Squidward's Miserable Adventures, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends theme, and the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends trailer from 2002, DVD menu, Season 3 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad from 2002, the Season 3 funding continue, title sequence, and the start of the episode Opposite Day. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode Squilliam Returns, and then the online bumper from 2002 to 2004, and credits Sesame Workshop Purple Roof Green House logo. And then, of course, the Season 3 funding, the Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, Season 3 funding continued. Then the PBS Kids Dot transformation ident, with Dot transforming into a tiger, octopus, and astronaut, with the audio from the Fishbowl ident, just like on the TV airings of Squilliam Returns, when it was paired up with No Weenies Allowed. Then, the Britt Allcraft intro, and the Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends intro from Season 6, with a sampler of episodes from the Percy's Chocolate Crunch DVD release. Yeah. And then the Britt Allcraft intro. And the Thomas episodes on Squidward's Miserable Adventures would be Percy's Chocolate Crunch, Thomas Percy and the Squeak, Buffer Bother, and Middle Engine. Now, we're going into one more 2003 release called SpongeBob's Wild Ride, which would be released on October 28, 2003. And it would have the episodes. Well, actually, it came up with two more. SpongeBob's Wild Ride would be released on September 2nd, 2003. Oh, doesn't Sir Topham Hatt get crossed with James in that episode too, when he says, "Then you must take those to the smelter"? SpongeBob's Wild Ride would have some episodes reused from previous releases as well. Boating School from season 1, and then the episode Squid's Day Off from season 2, then Bossy Boots, No Free Rides, Graveyard Shift, and the Fry Cook Games. The Fry Cook Games is another episode that is reused from a previous release, so Boating School and the Fry Cook Games would be the only episodes to be reused from a previous release. So that means, Jeremy Barton, Sir Topham Hatt is not only crossed with Percy, but also crossed with James in that episode too. Jeremy Barton. Yeah, if you could rewrite that comment and say that Middle Engines is where Sir Topham Hatt gets crossed Percy for going into Tipper's rowing ramp and gets additionally crossed with James too. All right. And at the beginning, it would have of SpongeBob's Wild Ride, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine 2002 commercial, DVD menu, season 3 funding, and then the Libby's, and then of course the Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad from 2002, season 3 funding continue, title sequence, and the start of the episode Boating School. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode The Fry Cook Games, the online bumper from 2000 to 2002 to 2004, the end credits, the season 3 funding with the Sesame Workshop purple roof green house logo as well, and then the season 3 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad, season 3 funding continue, and then the PBS Kids Fishbowl ident, the Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and this would have some episodes like this would have Percy's Predicament, Gordon Takes a Tumble, and then James Learns a Lesson, which is the George Carlin version, and Percy and the Signal. Those episodes would be on SpongeBob's Wild Ride. Oh, did I say Percy and the Signal? I meant Percy Takes Plunge. Oh, yeah. All right. So, Percy's Predicament, Percy Takes the Plunge, And believe it or not, all of those episodes have Sir Topham Hatt Cross, by the way, on that DVD of SpongeBob's Wild Ride. So, it would have James Learns a Lesson, which is the George Carlin version. Percy Takes a Plunge, Percy's Predicament, and Gordon Takes a Tumble. Now we came up with one more 2003 release. And that's called the Holiday Collection. Released on October 28th, 2003, which is 3 days before Halloween. And this would often reuse episodes from previous releases. It would have the episode Valentine's Day, then Fools in April. Then it would have Scary Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary. Well, in James Learns a Lesson, Sir Topham Hatt is crossed with James. Your red coat and have you painted blue. And then in Percy Takes a Plunge, Sir Topham Hatt is crossed with Percy, and it says, "You are a very disobedient engine." No, Percy, we cannot do that till high tide. I hope it'll teach you to take care of yourself. And then for Percy's Predicament, Sir Topham Hatt is crossed with Percy and Daisy. He's crossed with Percy saying, "We must now try to run a branch line with Toby and a diesel. You have put us in an awkward predicament." And then he gets crossed with Daisy, and he says, "My engines work hard. I send lazy engines away." And then in Gordon Takes a Tumble, Sir Topham Hatt is crossed with Gordon, and he says, "Well, Gordon, you wanted to show Salty a thing or two, and you've certainly done that. You showed him how silly it is to ignore go slow signs." So, anyway, the Holiday Collection would reuse the episodes. It would have Valentine's Day, Fools in April, Scaredy Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary, Christmas Who, and Snowball Effect. Oh, actually, you know what? Actually, I thought of this. You know, Valentine's Day, Krusty Love, Fools in April, Scaredy Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary, and then Christmas Who. And at the beginning of the DVD of the Holiday Collection, it would have the FBI warning, then the 2003 Anchor Bay Entertainment logo with the warbling synth music playing, and the blue background. Then the Thomas the Tank Engine 2003 trailer, 2002 trailer, and then the episodes DVD menu season 3 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad from 2002, the season 3 funding continue title sequence, and the start of the episode Valentine's Day. And at the end, it'll have the last few seconds of the episode Christmas Who, the online promo from 2002 to 2004. And then, of course, the end credits, Sesame Workshop, green roof, and purple roof, and green house logo, of course. Season 3 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Laughing Kids ad. Then the season 3 funding continued. And then this would be another release to use the PBS Kids Snow Globe ident from 2002. With Dash ice skating in an ice rink. Dot holding the snow globe, of course. And it fades in and out. just like on Imagine with SpongeBob and Patrick. And it would have the episodes, the season 6 episodes, It's Only Snow, Jack Frost, Toby Had a Little Lamb, and for the only time ever, it would be the earliest release to use an episode with Michael Brandon's narration, and it's called Thomas and the Avalanche, but with music composed by Michael Donnell and Junior Campbell instead of Ed Welch. And this would be the only 2003 release to have Michael Brandon's narration in one episode. Even though Michael Brandon didn't really narrate those episodes on Thomas DVDs until 2004 with Thomas and the Jet Engine. Now, what do you find interesting about the Holiday Collection DVD, Jeremy Barton? I will send you a link. Now, the other 3 episodes, It's Only Snow, Jack Frost, and Toby Had a Little Lamb, are narrated by Alec Baldwin on here. Here you go. All right. Now I came up with one more SpongeBob DVD to contain episodes from the classic series of Thomas and Friends. And that is called SpongeBob and the Great Outdoors. And that would not to be confused with an Elmo's World VHS called The Great Outdoors, released in 2003. And it would have the episodes Bubble Stand, which is reused from Welcome to Bikini Bottom. Stand, Jellyfishing, with Rocket, which is also reused. And like I Had an Accident from season 3. And from season 2. Oh. And clams would also be reused in SpongeBob and the Great Outdoors as well. So, 4 episodes. Bubble Stand, Jellyfishing. See. Bubble Stand, Jellyfishing, Sandy's Rocket and Clams would be reused episodes from previous releases. The only ones that are newer are the Secret Box and I Had an Accident. Now, what were your thoughts on those episodes? On Sponge... Oh, wait a minute. Actually, you know what? The Sponge Who Could Fly and I Had an Accident would be the new episodes, because I realized that SpongeBob is flying outside in the episode. So, Bubble Stand, Jellyfish, so the Great Outdoors, SpongeBob and the Great Outdoors would have Bubble Stand, Jellyfishing, Sandy's Rocket, and Clams that are reused from previous releases. Then it would have the Sponge Who Could Fly, and then I Had an Accident would be the last one. So, what is interesting about that DVD called SpongeBob and the Great Outdoors? Alright, here we go. At the beginning of the DVD of SpongeBob and the Great Outdoors, it would have the FBI warning, Anchor Bay Entertainment logo, Thomas the Tank Engine 2002 trailer. This would be the last one to use it. DVD menu, season 3 funding, Chuck E. Cheese's Exercises advertisement with the URL saying chuckecheese.com. Unlike on Arthur, which did not. And then, of course, the season 3 funding continued, title sequence, and the start of the episode, Bubble Stand. And the closing would have the last few seconds of the episode, I Had an Accident, the online bumper from 2002 to 2004, and credit Sesame Workshop Purple Roof Greenhouse logo. Then, of course, we have the season 3 funding. And then, of course, the Chuck E. Cheese's Exercises ad, again, with the word chuckecheese.com. Season 3 funding continued. PBS Kids Fishbowl ident. Then it would have the Thomas the Tank Engine episodes, Old Iron, which is the Ringo Starr version, of course. Wrong Road. Thomas and the Rumors, and James and the Trouble with Trees, which both are narrated by Alec Baldwin, and Wrong Road has the George Carlin version. Anyway, and the PBS Kids Fishbowl ident would be used after the SpongeBob funding, by the way, on SpongeBob and the Great Outdoors. Then the DVD menu. Alright, that covers up all the classics, all the Anchor Bay releases of SpongeBob with the classic series episodes. Now another time next week, I'm going to be talking about Anchor Bay releases with episodes from the Engine Roll Call era of Thomas and Friends. Alright. And Movie and Game Lover 98 is also a big fan of Thomas and Friends as well. So this video is also for him, in addition to SoundCheck and Jeremy Barton. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the Anchor Bay releases with the classic series, Anchor Bay releases of SpongeBob with the classic series Thomas and Friends episodes. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the Anchor Bay releases of SpongeBob with episodes from the Engine Roll Call era. So stay tuned.